Good evening. Good evening. It's Tuesday today, I think. So, as we left yesterday, we had tied off 5 bobbins. Had a bit of added complication, but we'd tied off 5 bobbins. And we were feeling pretty damn good about it, to be honest. Ooh, that was an interesting twinge. Anyone want a body? You know, one gentle owner. Only a car accident, a couple of bouts cancer, and, you know, degeneration going on. So, today we are gonna try and do a bit more, to be honest. So let's have a look. This was kind of how I left it yesterday. So I have I know it's more than 12, but it feels like 12 pins in the bottom of this pot. I mean, you can barely see them. That's because, well, there's like 12 pins in the bottom of the pot. Then we have my colossal pot of more pins. I deliberately bought these little tins because the lids clasp on and they can go upside down, so that should the dog knock it off, and in fact I managed to knock it off earlier and not a single pin escaped. This is what we needed. So, my pile of stick. Oh, I know what I was going to show you. Remember I said about other new bobbins that I'd ordered? Because, well, you can never have too many bobbins, right? And as we know, I've got a selection of bobbins that I like. Well, I ordered some more and they arrived today, so hang on one moment, I'll get them. Or I'll get a bit of it. Hang on. So I haven't released them from all of their packing yet, but you'll be able to see them and marvel at the joy of these particular bobbins. So, let me just pull everything back to where I can get at it, because I have everything set up just so. Out. So these are the new bobbins, and as you can see, they're not dissimilar to the current ones. But let me grab one of the current ones. So these are, I mean, if I put them next to each other, they're very similar in length, but these are a bit chunkier at the bottom. So, although they're made of a lighter wood than these ones, the chunkiness, again, I have spotted a marginally less desirable trait, which is the bit here, where you could put it here and then put the kind of, let me show you what I mean. I'm trying to explain it, and apparently today I can't explain really simple things, so I should warn you that now. I tried to explain to somebody that at one point our work holiday works from January to December, so on the 1st of January you get your new quota, and one year I decided I would not work the first week of January, so I booked the holiday. It came out of, let's say it was this year, I would book it and it would come out of this year's quota, because, well, this is the quota I've got. I'm booking it now, so it did. In the new year, I got my new quota and they immediately deducted the first week of January out of it. So I paid for it with this year's holiday, and I paid for it with next year's holiday, and I objected, because it's kind of like I paid for that twice. Oh, no, that's how it works. No, you're missing the point. I'm paying for it with last year's, and I paid for it twice. Oh, no. Well, it came out of last year's quota, and now it's come out of this year's quota. Yeah, but that's how... So I ended up paying for it twice, and it's meant that I've never taken the first week of January off ever again, even though I really want to. And I'm quite grateful that when I did do it, I only did it for a week, because I kind of would have minded too. I have a real thing. I have a lot of sympathy for people with invisible ailments and illnesses, because no one can truly tell you how you feel. If me saying I'm stupid makes you feel bad for some reason, I cannot take that away from you. I may not understand why it makes you feel bad, but I can understand that if you're going to tell me it makes you feel bad, I will accept that. Maybe I'm a bit stupid, but, I will live with it. So, I objected under work, and as I said, I don't truly believe in the seasonal adjustment disorder, because I think, well, it's kind of normal. It's not a disorder. Dark, wet, cold, and miserable is fucking depressing. It's not a disorder, it's called normal. In fact, if you're jolly during this time, surely that's the disorder, right? Because when the wind's sideways, it's constantly rain, it's cold, everything constantly feels damp, you've got to pay a fortune to not freeze your butt off. Where is the joy in this, right? Okay, you get to wear interesting sweaters and stuff, but let's truly be honest, this is not a joyous occasion. And in the UK, weather is pretty crap in December. Weather is really crap in January. Now, we do not get tornadoes and hurricanes. Well, not really. And we don't really get, 20 foot of snow. And we don't get any of that. But what we do have is morning, noon and night, sideways drizzle and rain and wind. And basically the UK is all about the temperature of rain. And we do occasionally get sunny days, but we get sunny days that are too hot and it's too dry and everything dries up, and then we have a water shortage, even though we're a really small island. So there is a bit of you that kind of goes, feeling miserable when it's cold, dark, wet and depressing is kind of expected. It's a bit like being depressed because a family member died. It's kind of expected. It's normal. It is not abnormal. So I'm not a sad believer. I do feel for those who suffer more greatly than others, and I don't believe I suffer from it. But I just hate getting up in the dark, going to bed in the dark, moving, doing everything in the dark, everything being wet, everything being cold. Going out dog walking, even at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when it's dark. Just no, can we not? So I've digressed from my bobbin, obviously, but there is a lot about winter that can make one sting, and I am not a fan of winter. So I have booked off most of December this year, which I believe will be a bone of contention for something. Why is my pillow around 90 degrees? I don't remember doing that. Oh, I remember doing that because the bobbin pile. Right. So today we are going to work on doing more pairs of bobbins, because the more bobbins we can remove... I'm going to have to leave that pin up, actually. Let's leave that pin up so that I can pivot around it. Take you round for the moment. And you round. And you're supposed to be in here too, so do you mind? Though you are a bit short, let's unwind you a little bit. So yes, I know what I was going to explain. So, that's right, cover them in my cloth. As you know, at the top of my bobbins, she says, grab this one. I have the lark's head knot, right, which stops them becoming unravelled. So you can put the lark's head here and wind it here. So I guess it's not so bad, because then this will never slide beyond the little lump in the middle. But it's still not ideal, because it will still try and unravel and be annoying. But it does have an improvement over these, so that can be a thing. They are, of course, fatter, which makes the whole stacking debacle bigger and scarier. But surely it is the number of bobbins, not the actual pile, that's the problem. So let's have a look at this. This looks to be where I'm at, or mostly where I'm at. So, stick. I haven't done my pin of the day. Useless woman. Let me pin. Yep, pin. No, that's not how you spell that. Seriously, people, if I had a brain cell, I would be... I've really got to type that again. Why is it the moment your typing is potentially visible, you type utter shite, and it's like 5,000 typos a second? Right, Rory, come on. Seriously, I'm perched on the end of the couch, and you've got to come up through the gap that isn't there. Right, go on. Right, so we need... pull out you for a second, and some of you are involved. Now, let's have a look. Actually, there's quite a few of you. Let's undo you for a minute. Unstick. So you are over there, you are up on there, you are some of the working pair, and you. So, you are out, because you're out. For any men who are watching, you do not know the frustration of wearing a bra and having big boobs. Because the moment you go to do anything, your bra falls down. Right. 1, 2, 3. Can't even count to 4 yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't question it. Don't question it. Do not question it. Just believe. It's going to be 4 in a minute. Just believe. Stop worrying. Believe, believe, believe. I haven't printed it out yet. I should have printed out that thing for my wall, shouldn't I? Really should. Because all I do is worry that I've got it wrong. It's not going to be my day. So I started the stream a little late today. I was watching someone play a silly game. And to be honest, wasn't hugely... Where did I put that? There it is. I have a thing. I had 2 visits from the postman today. Well, actually one was the Amazon man, but I had 2 visits. I got this. So, between triangles and potentially off stream once I've started, should I feel in the crafty mood, I am going to attempt, it may never see the light of day, to do this cross stitch, because I know how to cross stitch, very much in theory. In practice, Now, I will say that this is, because it's cartoony, it's quite a simple one, so although there are some extra colours, and it is not quite as simple as it looks, for the most part, yes it is. And it's also not one of the ones where you have to count, 3,000 squares before you even start, because if I pull out part of it, it is printed not necessarily in the right colour, but showing which one's which with a little symbol if necessary. So, for example, you can see there are a few colour changes up the thing and in the B, although the B's pink and red, not yellow. But it is it's designed for beginners. And while I am not 100% a beginner, I am definitely no expert. And I would never pretend to be an expert. But I did think that would be quite a good thing to do. to have something crafty that I could do so that I don't get too much triangle fatigue, because after all, we've got quite a lot of the frigging things to make, and as a result of a lot of the things to make, it is very possible to end up with the, I won't call it resentment, but the fatigue, the boredom, the I'm sick of this shit, the I'm really not in the mood for that. And so to have a separate project that I can work on in that time when I'm either, you know, because obviously I'm going to be off from it's the 6th of December I'm off, so I'm off from the evening of the 5th of December. That's a lot of days, and while in my heart it would be great if I spent 14 hours a day making lace. Can you imagine how stressed I would be by the end of that? We already know that, well, I've been stressed enough doing this, and this is the while holding down full-time jobs version of this. So the moment I've then got 8 hours of working day to, you know, and that's right, they've got caught around this pin, and I don't really want to pull the pin out, but I do kind of want to pull as many of the threads out the right side of the pin. There we go. So I need something to distract the brain cells from when they're, I really hate this, I don't want to do this anymore, I hate you. Yeah, they do resemble a small, you know, teenage child. So I just thought that would be something nice to do, and then while I would almost certainly will not finish it in time for Christmas, because I don't intend to be I don't want to be devoting a huge amount of time to it, because obviously I want to do this. This should be my primary. Oh, I fucking hate these pins. I'm gonna pour them into the other pin pot. I've had enough. I've had enough trying to pick, you know, what feels like 0mm pins out of a tiny little pot when there's a big pot of pins that are going to stab me in the finger, and I should be grumpy about it. But at the same time, I can put my hand in and there will be pins. Too many pins, in fact. They'll all come up at once. Let's do that, because that makes that portion less annoying. And we can stick you back up, because we don't need any of you. So yes, I am conscious that December could be too lace heavy if I do not have an alternative. And I was trying to think of something that I could do that was alternative. Now, I'm not sure that I would stream any of it. Why not? I'm not sure how to set that up, because at the moment, the thing that supports my camera is the other side of my lace pillow. I would have to move it considerably, and well, there's a couch in the way, and a box, and a table, and a whole mat, and a pile of crap. Because what do you think I have between me and the table? Of course, there's a pile of crap. It's my house. So actually, my box has got the boxes, and it's where I put things like my cloths. Because look. There they are. They and a whole pile of stuff. So there's piles of things here that I access and that I like and that I want. And so there really isn't room to be putting what frankly is a very large tripod base, because it is quite sturdy. So I mean, if I'm hitting it quite hard and it's quite sturdy. So from that point of view, it's a good thing. From the fitting it in gaps point of view, it's really annoying. Now, there are other things that I should do in the, hey, you've completed a triangle and you're not streaming stage, like tidy my shit pile. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I would hedge a very good bet with you that the shit pile, it might get slightly smaller, because I might do a little bit to it, but it will not be fixed by January the 1st. That's just not how Liz works. I was talking to my neighbour. Long end, dipshit. I was talking to my neighbour, and apparently they understand the shit pile kind of mentality. They have a similar problem to sorting clothing. So they have piles of clothes in rooms that need doing, and they can't bring themselves to do it. So they understand my problem. It's just that mine happens to be in my sitting room, and and part of that is because it's just over to my right, and I can chuck more stuff on it without even moving. So it is a known issue for many people, some to a greater and lesser extent. I have one friend who will never suffer from it and never understand suffering from it, and it's really hard to explain to them just how upsetting and depressing trying to sort the shit pile can be, because creating the shit pile, its existence doesn't bother me. I mention it quite a lot, but that's because I'm aware that it would bother other people. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. I'll sleep tonight knowing that it's there. It's nearly a quarter of my room, and I still will sleep perfectly soundly. I'm not a tidy person. It is not in my name. Well, that's not true. There are aspects of my life where I am almost OCD. And I mean that genuinely. There are certain aspects of my life where if this is not perfectly tidy, methodical, and almost hermetically clean, I will freak. Computers are one of them. However, when it comes to my actual existence, I'm fine with that. Any server I work on, things I hate, folders in the root directory, absolutely abhor those. Icons on desktop. My desktop, 0 icons. And I mean that, absolutely no icons. No icons on the desktop. We do not tolerate icons on the desktop. It's just nothing. Do not be dumping files here. Do not be creating crap on my desktop. Do not. Which is kind of amusing because I am aware that every so often, for example, work do this. So I will use work as an example. Work will install some new exciting tool or update something or release a new thing for employee feedback or anything along those lines, and of course they put an icon on your desktop so you can find it. Well, I've turned all the icons on my desktop off so I don't see it, and they'll go, "Hey, Zukin, I'm suffering a little bit, to be honest. I'll ping you with the exact reason why. I don't need to spread it around the internet too much. In fact, let me do that now. Hang on. So I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, and I did vaguely mention it yesterday on stream, but don't want to kind of repeat it in case it is the wrong thing to do. Yeah. Well, it's something I've known about since July, so it's not a new thing, but let's just say it's picking up steam. So let me just do this. Hang on. Let me quickly type your message. So there you go. So I have been distracted, and I was just explaining that in terms of making the thing, because we are heavily racing down the 4th triangle, and we tied off 5 bobbins yesterday, that when I get to the end of the triangle, rather than immediately start a new one, I don't want to force my brain into to make, triangle number 5, because, well, there's 78 of the buggers, and I don't want to get to a point where I resent said triangles, or I get bitter about the triangles. So I have bought me a thing. Now I have very little experience in this area, but I bought a cross-stitch kit, but it is a cartoon one, so it's large areas of identical colours, whereas a lot of cross-stitch things, it's a bit like the paint with numbers, or if you've ever seen anyone who's done one of those diamond sticking in things, you know, normally Pooh Bear would be made out of like 90 colours and there's like greens and purples, and you're going, how's there greens and purples in that? And so this is quite a very basic pattern in the sense of Pooh is yellow, Tigger is orange, Piglet is 2 shades of pink. Well, 3 shades of pink. But, you know, it is quite a simple thing that there are. So, for example, there is a bit of shading on some of the droplets, but it is really minor kind of colour changes. So, from that point of view, pick a colour, fucking go for it. And so I've decided that I could do a bit of this in between or while I'm off stream, because as of the 6th, well, as of the end of the 5th of December in the evening, I will be off till the new year, and that is a lot of time. And while it would be nice to think that I could spend, you know, 14 hours a day, you know, doing this, no, I couldn't. I'd go insane if I tried to do this for 14 hours a day. If I wasn't streaming, I would probably get a lot more done, because what I'd do is I'd do a little bit while watching some hideous film and maybe listening to some music or whatever and singing along like a, you know, dying cat and all of those kind of things. And then as a result of that, you know, I would do probably a bit more because I could sit with this in exactly the right place. I don't have to worry about having a camera in line with it. I don't have to worry about talking to people. I don't have to worry about whether you can see the thing I'm talking about or not. If I want to have, you know, bodily functions of farting or whatever, I can let rip. If I need to sneeze, I don't have to find a mute button. If, you know, if I need to shout at the dog, I can just shout at the dog. You know, all those kinds of things. And so it's a bit more relaxed, and, you know, I would probably do more of it, but at the same time, I'd get fed up of doing more of it, if you know what I mean. 1, 2, 3, that's a half one. I need another one. That's it. So, I don't want to get to resenting it, because from the moment you start resenting it, it's very hard to claw that back. When you're doing it because you have to, when you feel that obligation and you're not doing it because you really want to. I mean, to be honest, there was a little bit of that. Oh, really, ads already? Oh, is it really half an hour? Oh, blimey. We will have ads in a couple of minutes. So it's just that kind of thing, is I don't want to resent it. So I thought I would get something else I could do that the brain cells would like, potentially. They may not, I don't know, I'll find out when I get there. But at the same time, it would be crafty but not the same, so that's always a bonus. And I don't know whether I'll stream it or not, probably not, because, well, surely that's half the point. That's right. So, you know, but it gives it something else to do, something that's not a triangle, a bit different, something else to think about. And then when you come back to it, it's almost like, oh, I vaguely remember doing this. Or not, yeah, definitely or not. So, yes, we shall see. Hello, Sugar Bear, how you doing? How you doing? It's a pleasure to see you. As always. Oh, look, I've started wiggling my hands around. Good. As always, I have started with the wiggling of bobbins, and I'm already feeling hot. How is that a thing? Well, part of it, I think, is the hot water bottle known as Rory behind me. That's a good point. Where's your sister? Amy? One moment. What were you doing? What were you eating that you weren't necessarily supposed to be? Yes. One didn't come when I called one's name. One had to be whistled for. What were you doing, little miss? Your breath is a little less builder's arse today. I would like to appreciate that and send you my happiness on that regard, because every time you go to lick my face, smelling like a builder's arse is really not what I need. Yeah, probably. They're very good at no good. They excel at that. It is their speciality du jour. Yeah, dogs. Dogs are like very small children. If you can't see them and you can't hear them, worry. If you can hear them, it's probably okay, unless what you can hear is worrying. But if you can't hear them and you can't see them, yeah, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're really done already, blimey. Yeah, for some reason I am already beginning to feel toasty warm and might have to take my jumper off. Hello! Welcome to the channel! Well, good for you. How healthy and wonderful of you. Oh look, ads. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Hello, you should be back. I do apologise for the ads hitting just as soon as you got here. It's a bit rude of it. Yay. Oh, my warmie. Oh no, my back pillow was just turning around. you want to be that way round now? Okay. So that's why I can scratch your head. Okay. So yes, I'm doing all right today. I have plans. I have backup plans for my crafting exploits during December. And what are you doing? Little miss, you clearly have trouble on your mind this evening. Yes. It was her in the kitchen earlier, so yes. She's been a little bit awkward today in that I have a system so that the back door is basically constantly open, but not in an open state. But there's like a little thing over the lock on the door so that it can't shut properly, so that they can just walk up to it, push it, and walk out. And to get back in, there's a thing. The thing over the lock creates a small gap, but it is quite a small gap. So it does mean that technically on the cold days the heat does leak out, but that it is a small amount as possible, without meaning I have to get up every 30 seconds to let a dog in or out. But every so often, and it's pretty much usually only her, decides that she can't open it. Now occasionally he does it, but she goes and opens the door for him. He won't. He's a knob. He just sits there laughing at her. He'll go and lie down and kind of go, "Oh, you're stuck outside, are you? Great, I'll go and get the best spot there." And he goes, lies down. So, I do wish, considering she's smaller, it should be easier for her to open the door on the grounds that she should be able to get in smaller cracks. And her paws will fit and all those kind of things. But she also kind of milks it. And so I occasionally have to get up and do it. And she's done that about 5 times today now. So, stop licking my clothes. Thank you. I wish you could talk properly. Why are you giving me the side eye? You need hugs. Okay. Ever since she hurt her leg, she's been a little bit more huggy. Not because she's clingy, but she worked out when her leg was sore that hugs were more fun if you stand still and you don't headbutt people, and that by the time you get on, if you stand there you get a hug, whereas if you get on and get off you don't get much of a hug because, well, you've got off again. You are a good girl, really. So I do apologise, but because she's asking, it would be rude not to, because she's not very good at asking, but she does like her hugs, don't you? You do really, especially when you remember how to ask them. That better be drink water. I'm going to please pray that the wetness you just wiped around my face was drink water. Yes, it's a good girl. Right, back to what we were doing. So, sorry for the interruption. But they live here, you don't, you know. What's the matter, moany face? What? You're a big fat moany face today, too, aren't you? Yes, you are. What? We have conversations like this a lot, unfortunately. I don't speak average dog whine. Now, this is more whine than her usual which she does. So this is a bit more whiny, and it's not that she's in pain. I can assure you of that. She just wants something, but she doesn't really know what it is. Don't you? You want something. You've got water. You had dinner, because that's what I did just before stream. You've had hugs. Yes, you have. You've had hugs. You want more hugs. Well, of course you want more hugs. Everybody wants more of the good things. But I don't want to be licked. No. No licking. Come on. Enough now. Lie down. Get a good spot. Get a good spot and have a snooze. Yes, have a snooze. You can see the brain cell thing. What was that for? Did I say snooze? Yes. Oh. What? You're just grumpy. There's nothing to be worried about, little one. Nothing at all. No. No, there isn't. I've got pretty damn good hearing, and half the time I hear you don't. So don't you be telling me that there's something to be worried about, because I know that there's not. And half the stuff you worry about is stuff that doesn't need worrying about, because it's one of the animals outside that lives outside our garden, and it's not our responsibility. And it's not breaking in, and it's not stealing your food. So there really is just no cause for worries. No. Stupid dog. As I said, this is the conversation that I have a lot of my day. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it does get a bit distracting, so I apologise for that. We found a spot. There's a spot. Down to the corner. And we need you. Check your twist. So yes, we have plans, we have things, we have happiness, we have ideas. So, as I said earlier, my new fancy fat bobbins have arrived. This is only 50 of them. I got 4 packs of them, so I've got 200 of the baggers. They arrived today, which was a good thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, we'll poke you in here, because actually, what we will do is take you out there for a minute and bring you 3 round and put you in a stick, because you are a stick. So yes, I've got my fat bobbins. It turns out that the bolster pillow that I got really excited about, because I found a big long one and that arguably would be wide enough to make a curtain in one piece, and although I am still going to make this curtain, that there is almost certainly going to be curtain Mark II at some point, although I might need to take a short break before doing curtain Mark II, because I'm not sure that my sanity will hold for... Why does that not feel like the right number of bobbins? 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no, they're all pairs. That's good. That's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and stick. So my fat bolster pillow has not arrived for a very simple reason. In my banking app, I went to pay the bill, and I filled in all the details, and it said, to send it to this bank code and all the rest of it. Did all of that. And it came up with a script, and it went, this is not a business account, this is a personal account, because I remember it doing that. And I could have sworn I paid. I was about to write to them and kind of go, where the fuck's my pillow? I paid you like 3 weeks ago, where is it? And I couldn't find the transaction on my bank. So I had a good look. I looked everywhere. I've got a few bank accounts, not because I'm a dirty dealer or anything, but I've got a savings pot. Not that there's a lot in it, but I've got a savings pot. I've got a yarn allowance pot, which I've never actually put money in, and I set up years and years ago, like, must be 10 years ago now. I keep meaning to put money in it, but it doesn't hurt to have it open, so I have it open. And I've got my bills account, and I've got the one that I, kind of like the one for me. Any money in there is technically mine to spend. And I kind of looked all around in case I paid it here or I'd paid it with that and, used the wrong one or something. Nope, couldn't find it. Because it should show up quite easily. Because obviously, it's got a name of the person that it's going to, so it would say that. Anyway, as I couldn't find it, I dropped them a note and kind of went, I thought I paid this, but I can't find the transaction in my bank. So I've paid what I feel is again. Can you confirm? And they wrote back, no, we only got the money this morning. So clearly, it didn't go through last time. We will now send it. So hopefully it is on its way. Which is a good thing. So that might arrive any day now. And obviously when that arrives, there are things I can play with. So it is, there are lots of things I can potentially do. I'm not so sure how I would stream a bolster cushion, because the biggest problem with this setup is the ring light that you can see actually has a diameter that brings the ring light almost off the bottom of the screen. It's a big 22-inch ring light. I think it's 22 inches, or is it 18? Anyway, it's quite a bit. I could measure it, but I can't bother. Anyway, it's quite large. And it's got a camera mount in it, but the camera mount is that side, not this side. And with the bolster cushion, of course, it being round, the work is towards the front. And much like the idea of could I stream cross-stitching, the answer to that is there's a sofa, a table and a pile of stuff. Well, a box, 2 boxes and a pile of stuff in the way. Because basically there's a bit of stuff on top of the box, and it's like my work laptop. It's it's a box of bits, including a really curious device. Now, I'm not sure what exactly weavers lace makers use this for, but there is this contraption. This is not a stick for beating dogs, although it would probably do that quite well. As you can see in the camera from this, there is a crack basically all the way down the middle, but it has a pin on the bottom. So it is for stabbing in. So what's the slit for? Now I did wonder, she says, going to gingerly do it with... So I've got a cover for the tip of the pin so I don't, spear dogs and myself with it. But I do wonder if in theory it is for holding bobbins. And what you do is you travel the bobbin down, and the bobbins go in a pile up through the stick. I have never seen a stick like this. Because, well, that's not true. I have seen a stick like this, but they have holes to pin it downwards like this, so that you can make a long ribbon of lace, and that the lace will wrap around it. And then you could argue that the slit is for holding one end, so that it doesn't try and just, you try and rotate it and it just spins like a car wheel in mud. So I'm not entirely sure what these are for. It came with something else I bought. So I don't actually know what they're for. And I've got 2 of them. The other one seems to have wandered off slightly. Says looking. But it will be about here somewhere. But I've got 2 of these. As I say, I'm not overly sure what they're for. Yes. Answers on a postcard, please. As I say, they'd make quite good murder weapons, because obviously they've got a pin at the bottom and something great to hang on to. You get lots of pins like these, but these are for, pinning back the hordes. And, well, that's okay, but you really don't need... I mean, look at the size of this thing. I've got a handspan that will do, like, an octave and a note on a piano. So that's quite a distance. And I've got 2 of them. The only reason I thought of the bobbins things is I did see, because I occasionally watch lots of videos about lace making, and kind of not necessarily the history, but usually it's some company stroke, somebody talking about their lace making museum-y type thing, but it doesn't actually talk about the actual history. It talks about the fact that they do classes, or they do this. And I was on one of them, there was someone who had something a little like that, and that's exactly what they had. In it, they had like this this vertical pile of bobbins. But until then, I hadn't really considered that because, well, you'd want it to hold the actual bobbin, not the thread, surely. Because if you hold it at the bobbin, it's not... Well, the bobbins can still tangle because the thread's next to nothing. And if the bobbins kind of sag into a pile at the bottom, you're never going to pick up the right frigging one, are you? Actually, that's not what I want to do first, is it? I need to do the thing. You need to not attach yourself to pins. I need to do the thing. Now we do the thing. So yes, I have 2 of those, and I really have no freaking idea what. Well, that's kind of how it comes over to me as well. And to be honest, it's not like there aren't plenty of those already in making lace, in that things really are very adept at getting in the way and being annoying. So, is it just going to add to my annoyance? Yes. Or is it designed to, but it will be interesting to know what it is technically supposed to be used for. Because obviously it must have a purpose. Now, it might be it's not actually for lace making, but I can't imagine what else would use it. I do plenty of hobbies. Hey, Miss Nominara, how are you? So yeah, I don't know, Zook, and it does just come over as something that would just be in the way, because obviously it would be this leaning tower of bobbins. Now, these I push to the back and get out of the way, but if you've got a pile of them in the device, I guess because it is a pokey device, you could... Because, let's say, I'm putting it down this hole because it's got quite a big needle on it and I don't really want to make big holes in my pillows. But let's say I built a pile of bobbins there and they're all sticking out this side here. I can move it, of course, by picking them up and moving them. But we all know it's never that frigging simple. And so I really don't know quite. As I say, it's due to its size, it is huge. And I just can't picture what the hell you do with it. Excuse you for digging on my chair, young lady. We will not be doing that, thank you. So yes, I don't know. I don't know what they are, and as you say, they just feel like something that would be more irritating than helpful. But maybe if we knew what they were actually for, we'd go, oh my god, actually I can see that would be great. But somehow doubting it at the moment. It looks more like some manager decision that some manager somewhere went, oh, it'd be really helpful if you had this. And everyone kind of went, no. Oh, you've made it anyway and spent money on it. And now we're not getting a bonus. Cheers, boss. Thanks for that. And, it feels like it's one of those kind of devices at the moment. That somehow, some loving husband or whatever went, I thought this would be helpful. No, love, no. And some wife went, oh dear, thank you very much for making me it. Oh, the fuck am I doing this now? And kind of moment. So yes, I not exactly sure what that's for or why. So hence I haven't lobbed it in, because, I have never seen others, so... except for this one potential thing in a video. But sadly I can't ask her, how practical is that? Are you doing it for show? You need to be longer, because you're annoying. Because of course that could be a thing. As I say, I've got 2 of them. Quite sure where the other ones wandered off to. I've obviously knocked it off down somewhere. Normally it's not far away, but I don't. Looking in all the obvious holes for it. The problem is, of course, is that it is my pile of stuff. So that'll be around somewhere. But as I don't know what to do with it, I mean, obviously, should anyone be able to inform me, that would be great. But it's not an even slit, as you can see. The slit that goes up it, she says, trying to get it visible on camera, it's not that well. But the slit is quite wider here than it is in other places, so it's not... It feels like hubby got a piece of wood, a slightly decorative piece of wood, and thought that it would be a grand plan, and stuck a pin in one end. Now, it's not like there's a pinhole in the other end and you can chain them together for something. It is clearly designed for poking like this. And for some reason. And maybe both of them you put a pattern, but then you don't need patterns behind you because it's on the piece of paper underneath. So... You know, is it a sun guard, a wind guard? Is it, you know, you start making up in kind of stupid crap because, well, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I really have no idea. Hence it kind of sits in the whatever pile, and I ignore it a little bit because, now, you were next, weren't you? No, you weren't. You go under that, so you're next. Cross. So yes, I would love to know what they are for. You are not a pair, I don't think. Are you not a pair? Because you look remarkably like you are not a pair. I've got a feeling these two come in the middle, and that's because they do. So you can go over there for a minute, and we cross you, and we do the thing with you. No, that's tidy. One potential disaster averted. So yes, I don't know. But yes, I have plans for the downtime of between triangles to make sure I don't suffer from triangle burnout. I will have my bolster cushion and my new shiny bobbins to play with, and I can do some experiments for potential net curtain number 2, because I so know I'm going to end up making, or at least I'm going to end up trying to do a whole one without making squares. Now it may be that we do the joins that we were talking about, but because we'd use bigger thread, the joins would be less painful because it isn't shoving, you know, a piece of rope through the eye of a needle. It is, you know, something that you can use almost your bare fingers to poke through a hole. And that obviously would be helpful. Because then you can make strips of it and join them as you go and have like the perfect join, as we were talking about yesterday, because the perfect join would be to be joining this as we go. So for those who weren't here yesterday, landslide, right. Someone asked me how I was going to join them, and there is the option that you would pin this along this pin line, and that every time you got to the edge, you would do the kind of join that you do at the end, which is you get this magic tool here, which is basically a bent needle with a bit of thread through it. You find the hole in here, you put the needle through it, you make a loop out of this side, you pass a bobbin through it, and when you pull it, I know you can't really see a lot, but when you pull it and you've hung on to this end, it then makes a loop this side with the bobbin that you made. You go pass the other bobbin through it, snug it up, and it's kind of made a bit of a loop knot where it would join. So you don't really join it together afterwards, you don't sew it together, you don't introduce another thread. you make the joins where all the pinholes would be, which would be basically as if you were continuing. So that could be a good thing. And of course, if you do it with bigger thread, because doing it with really small thread is quite painful, and obviously there are, you know, and as I said yesterday, one of the big concerns I have is that I've got 18 squares to make. So let's say I decided to join them as we go, which, you know, I could still do. We haven't got to a second square yet. Quite a few of the squares would need to join on two sides. But you also need to make sure you join them the right way up, because technically this is the back of the work. The front is on the other side. So in doing that, if at any point you screwed up and joined it the wrong way around, you can't do it. You can't do it because you're joining as you go. There is no knot, no break in the thread, no. There's none of this where there's a big long tail and I could arguably unpick some of the knots and redo it. No. No, it's looped over and then continued. So kind of like, almost like there's almost a pair of bobbins that goes the whole way down, looping over and over and over and over. So you can't just kind of undo it because, well, you'd have to undo the whole frigging thing. And clearly, that's not going to be fun now, is it? So, from that point of view, the whole kind of plan of join as you go has been dismissed. Because you have a lot of joins, you only ever do one or two, and there is just so much chance of screwing that up. And I just don't even want to think about it. I just don't want to go there, because at least if you sew it afterwards and you introduce a thread, you can cut the introduced thread and undo it. So from that point of view, there is much more rescuability, there is much more sanity, because you can kind of lie them all down in front of you and have them the right way around and pick up the next one and all of those kind of magical, simple things in life. And so from that point of view, we will be very much joining later. It would be the join will show. The join would be better if we did it as we went. It would be as perfect as you could get it. So on the fat bolster pillow, if we chose not to make the whole thing in one piece, but maybe in strips, we would be able to join as we go, because you would have the option, because it's bigger thread, you would have, you know, strips to put together, and admittedly, obviously, you'd still potentially have the problem of doing it around the wrong way, but let's say you made 3 strips. Well, there's only 3 lots of joins. And, you know, you can check a couple of times, and once you've checked at the start, it's right for the whole way down. So from that point of view, it would be fiddly, and if you watched me tying off the bobbins yesterday, you will know it is a very slow and dull and painful kind of process, because it takes a while. You've got to lift the pin up, you've got to go round and you've got to stick the thing through the hole, you've then got to get the bobbin and make it longer and stick it through the hole to pull it through to the other side. Then when you've pulled it through to the other side, you've got to poke the other one through it, and then you've got to pull that one through the whole thing, and it would make the joining side really painful. But it would look so cool. Stop licking things. And so it is a thing that is worthy of doing. Truly is. And it would be the right thing to do. Now, obviously, if I'm using bigger thread, it will look less like a net curtain and look more like a crochet blanket, because it would be bigger. But I think, have I still got my worm of the day? I had a bit of thread that was my example. It's not that bit. Where have I hidden it? I have so much crap on this table. I moved a lot of things around during the day while looking for something else. Is that it? No. Actually, no, that's one of those tie things. Anyway, it was considerably chunkier. To the point that it's not dissimilar to the width of the elastic on here, which you can just about see if I move it around a bit. So in terms of making it from that, it would grow faster because the stitches would be bigger. It would, there would be obviously less joins because, well, there'd be less joins because there'd be less stitches to the inch, less bobbins, in general. So, you know, there could be a lot of things, and making it in one piece could be a thing, right? So I'm not going to pretend that that's not going to happen, because I really do think that that will happen. But I can experiment and have a fiddle and, you know, with my big new cushion when it comes, in between some of the triangles as to what stitches I might like to do. Is the big fat thread really a winner, or am I going to hate it? You know, all of those kind of things you can have a bit of a go at. But again, I don't know if I can stream that. And I am conscious that I want to take you on this journey, but the journey of making the neck curtain is the initial purpose of being here. So obviously if I can't do other bits yet, then that's not necessarily bad. But obviously when I'm off in December, then I've got all that time to spend with you guys. And, well, it would be a shame not to use some of it. So, it'll be a challenge I face at the time, I think. It's a problem for tomorrow, Liz. Tomorrow, Liz has lots of things to do and never actually seems to get around to them. Because, as we all know, tomorrow never comes. Stuck around a pin. So yes, it's but it is good. So how's everyone else doing today? You've all heard about me and my rants and my joys. Over to you. How are your days going? What are you all working on? My dear friend, why don't you? And to be fair, we all do that. I mean, as I said, for example, part of me wasn't really in the mood to do this. That's right, I realised I didn't do the thing with these. So, we have to do this. And it is hard, because some days you're just really not in the mood. And it's not because there's anything other particular reason for it. It's just, some days you're just not in the mood for it. And so I do understand the feeling slightly obligated. Food is always good, frankly. Food is good for the soul, especially the right kind of sandwich. I can highly recommend cheese and onion toasted sandwiches. They're special. There is something, because we all know that melted cheese is a glorious thing, right? As long as you're not lactose intolerant, melted cheese is a glorious thing. But somehow, sticking a bit of onion in it, just making a cheese and onion sandwich, is just frankly glorious. It was similar in fact to last couple of days I've had hankerings for pot noodles, which is basically, as it sounds, you get a little plastic thing with some sauce powder in it and some half-dried noodles you add some hot water to it, you give it a good stir, you wait a bit, and magically your dinner arrives, right? Now, some of them are better than others, I'm not going to lie. And I bought pasta carbonara ones. So they're called pot pastas, didn't know they made them. And the carbonara one, frankly, is quite revolting. It's not ideal, because it gives you a line to put the water onto. Now, I already know... I don't disagree that onions are for soup and stews, but there is something about a cheese and onion sandwich. In my humble opinion, at least. Jesus, dog. What is wrong with you? There is no car, there are no people, there's nobody at the door. Well, exactly. There is something about a toasted sandwich. Little miss, you started that. What? What? There is nobody outside. There are no cars. I don't even think there's like an ant farting within like half a mile. What is your problem? I swear these dogs can hear ants fart in Nova Scotia. Because they don't half make up some crap sometimes. Anyway, but a toasted sandwich is a thing of glory. And for some reason, I really, really like toasted cheese and onion sandwiches. So simple too. The only problem is you kind of don't use a whole onion because, well, you don't need a whole onion. And so that causes issues because, well, you don't need a whole onion. So then you have bits of onion and you have to try and keep them well enough for the next time because you really cannot stick a whole onion in a sandwich. And despite being able to be quite hungry, even I can't eat enough sandwich to require a whole onion. So it is a slight disadvantage of the whole cheese and onion sandwich. Unless you're making for a couple of people, in which case you're alright. Don't be licking. Goodness sake. I swear I spend half my freaking life saying stop licking that. And it's usually my clothes or my cushion or my couch. Or he's suckling her ear, which is one of the other his favourite things to do. Which is really quite weird because she doesn't seem very impressed with it. And she ends up with really wet ears. Oh, here he comes. He's going to come up through the hole that doesn't exist and discover that she's already lying behind me. Now, I'm impressed because if she did this, he'd probably growl at her. Now I think, oh no, he's not sitting on her head. There really isn't room for 3 of us on this seat of the couch. There really isn't. I love you dearly, dogs, but my butt is bigger enough to fill the couch on its own without 2 dogs on it. Don't be grumping. You're the one who chose to come up here. No one made you. Right, so I need you 2. Yep. And you 2. Right. Put you back on the pile. Put the stick over there. And now there's no dog behind the other half of me. You do know how uncomfortable that is, right? Because now you're making me all wonky. I haven't actually had any tea, to be honest, so... I did eat kind of lunch late, so I might have a snackette after stream. Don't know what I'd have. Probably another pot noodle. But yeah, those carbonaras were bad. So with pot noodles, I learned quite a while ago that you never put in as much water as they tell you to, because otherwise it's just like a pile of wee. It's really watery and kind of, well, it's more like soup. And they're not supposed to be soup. But this carbonara, right? I mean, for example, I'd show you my cup, but it's full of drink. I know, let's say the cup's not far off holding half a litre, if you filled it to the top. Now, obviously, you don't fill it to the top, you fill it kind of about 3/4 of the way up. There's the line that says fill to here. I filled it nearly a centimetre and a bit below that line, knowing that, well, that's usually how this works. It was still so runny. It was quite horrible. Because it was just so runny. Seriously, if I'd put in the extra water, I might as well have just drunk dishwater. It would have been that runny. It didn't thicken in the slightest, and that was with less water. So it was going to be bad. But I have had another one, and I put even less water in it, and I am happy to report that at least that did thicken up, and it was now kind of covering the noodles. And because interestingly, although it's called a pot pasta, it's got noodles in it. Now I guess it's supposed to be spaghetti, but they're exactly the same as the noodles, so it looks like a noodle. As I said, I know it's spaghetti because it's called spaghetti carbonara, but they look just like noodles. So my brain opened it and went, because on the front there's pictures, well, on parts of it there's pictures of those like twist spaghettis. Sorry, not spaghetti pastas, but inside is noodles, and it was kind of like, is that the wrong stuff? No, it is spaghetti carbonara, so it is the right stuff, but they don't taste of a lot. It's the only downside. But it does mean you can mix in like cream cheese and stuff with it and make it taste better, so. I wonder if I put Tabasco sauce in it. That could work. That could be quite nice. It wouldn't really be a carbonara, but then it's not really a carbonara as it is, so it's not really like, you know, I'll tell you something, if Italians saw and tasted this, that, you know, their ancestors would turn in their graves. It's just not a pleasant thing. Because all the noodles are like 1 inch long, and as we know, never break spaghetti in front of an Italian. And then of course is the fact that there is no way this tastes like a carbonara, because of course carbonara is mainly made out of cheese and a bit of egg. Yeah, there's no fucking cheese in that. There's not even the weakest of cheese in the world tastes of that. And I've eaten some pretty friggin' bland and horrible cheese, so this is a whole new level of it's not even white sauce. White sauce tastes better than that, because obviously a bechamel kind of white saucy thing. No, it doesn't even taste of that. It's just nothing. It is water and flour. That's pretty much all it feels like. So it's kind of like hot glue, only not. It's just not right. And I'm pretty sure carbonara is supposed to have like pancetta or kind of bits of bacony ham type stuff in it. No, this doesn't. It is literally 1 inch noodles and a bit of white sauce. It's a bit lacking, so I will not be buying them again, that's for sure. But it is technically food and is good for a snack. Oh, I've got some crisps actually. Yeah. Got some crisps that I didn't eat all of, that was open from earlier. Could eat a few more of those. They're very crunchy though. Not good for stream eating, that's for sure. They would be very, very noisy. So yes. So Zukan's hungry. Zukan's made me hungry. Congratulations. Not that that takes much, to be honest. I'm always hungry. So. Although, I will report that by eating vitamin B and something else, I eat 2 vitamin pills every night. One's vitamin D and vitamin B. By eating those every night, I am a lot less hungry than I used to be. I used to be almost, if you gave me a full 14-inch pizza, no matter whether I've just eaten or not, I would be able to eat that because I was that hungry. Now I get to like 4 o'clock and go, I suppose I really ought to eat something. So I haven't lost a lot of weight, but I have lost some weight, which is always a good thing. I needed that. Because I be fat. So yes, I am. That sounds good to me. I've got some kind of cooked meats in the fridge. I like having them around for sandwiches. I've also got a little air fryer thing and some part break bread. And one of my kind of what I tend to do is or wraps, and I tend to put things in wraps or I part break bread into the oven for a little bit so that it's nice and toasty warm with stuff in it. Now the part break bread only gets it after it comes out. The wraps get it before it goes in, and I make quite a few random things with that. Some things are more successful than others, but they're still good because they taste of something, so which is nice. So yeah, sandwiches are good. One of the things that I've seen kind of posted around the internet is the British make a sandwich out of pretty much everything. Pretty much. I've got a Freibentos, I think it's a steak and kidney pudding. Don't hold me to that. Pudding just means it's in a soggy kind of stodgy pastry. It's a weird pastry, so it's not ever going to be crunchy. And if it's crunchy, you really screwed it up. It's more like a pancake than pastry. That's probably the best way to describe that. It's more like a pancake. Anyway, I've got this thing that basically I've been dared to eat it by the ex-husband because, well, he wouldn't say, but I get the impression that it's somewhere on the lines of the liver treats that we ate. So I have very low expectations for it. And I'd make a sandwich out of that. If I had 2 slices of bread and butter, I'd make a sandwich out of that. Bit of brown sauce on top. Bargain. Exactly what I need. Can't really put it in a wrap. I think it's a bit big for a wrap. Can't really put it in a roll because my baguette type things, I don't think I could really fit it in there because, well, it's the size of a coffee cup. So that would be a bit awkward. But if I had some bread rolls, I'd definitely slap it in a bun, or I'd slap it in a sandwich. Absolutely. So yeah, we do make sandwiches out of frankly anything. Personal favourites are Christmas time, when you've had roast chicken / roast turkey for Christmas and you got leftovers. Leftovers in a sandwich with chips. This is the best thing to do with your Christmas remains, is till you get down to the carcass, then you make a soup out of it. But when you've still got some pigs in blankets and some, cold roast potatoes and all of those kind of things, make a really fat sandwich out of it. Absolutely. So yes, we will put anything in a sandwich. And rightly so, because it works. Don't get me wrong, there are many things that do not work well as leftovers. So, for example, if you plated the food, putting it in the fridge, no point, just feed it to the dog. It's got to be things you never plated up for me. So, there can be, leftover roast potatoes. There can still be meat on the bird. There can be stuffing, still in its little pot or whatever. You can have some cold roast vegetables and all of that. That to me is fine. What I can't do is have it go cold in gravy. No, can't be doing that. So I wouldn't say you're a snob, Zukin. I would just say that there are certain things that really kind of just don't work that well as reheated. But things like, for me, cold pizza that you haven't eaten. I wouldn't reheat chips, although my ex-husband does. I'd just make new chips. You know, for the price of chip, screw it, get new chip. It is... There are definite... Pastry. Anything with pastry. Once you've cooked it, either eat it cold or eat it cooked. As you've cooked it. Do not stick it in the fridge and try and reheat it for like 6 times. No, don't be doing that. That's not a good plan. We are having bobbin crisis, I think. We need to thin out the bobbins. This is getting a bit crowded. So let's work these back. That's the last one on. You are the... I need to make sure that everybody is right, because for you, for you, for you, for you, for you. Then we've got all of these, and you can go in a stick. So I wouldn't call it snobbiness, Zukin. One thing I can do, which is a little bit odd, cold curry. I quite reasonably like a reasonably hot curry, but when it is just cooked, it is hard for your brain to differentiate between the heat of the curry and its physical temperature, because it just, you stick it in your mouth and it just goes burning, burning, burning. So to combat that, when it's cold, and you know it's cold, any burning is only your brain telling you that it's burning, and it's lying. You are not burning. Therefore, eating it cold, I can eat a far stronger curry, because I know that my body is lying to me, and that it is not going to die from the privilege, and that I'm not going to have a mouthful of blisters and hate myself, and got an ulcer forming on the side of my tongue. Excellent. Just what I needed. And all of those kind of things. And oh look, more adverts. Has it really been an hour? Blimey. It's amazing how these adverts always come round just when you're in the middle of something. But yeah, it's so I wouldn't call it snobbish, Zukin. I think everyone has preferences, and we're entitled to them. So worry not, dude. It could be a lot worse, you know? You're all mangled round pins. So let's try and unmangle you from the pins, please. And I can't see anything here. Let's have a good... Those are fine, but what you might not be able to see too well, she says, zooming in, and if you look here, this one is untwisted and funky, and it's just freaking wobbled my whole cushion again because I touched it. It's not a happy thread. Let's deal with that when we get there, because that's not pleasant. It may work out in the wash, but it is a bigger concern. So, stop it. There are times when I really do wish I could just push all the pins down, so that when you do things they don't catch, because threads love catching on these pins. We could take some of the pins out, but I could take probably quite a few of those out, to be honest. We'll do that when we get to the bottom of this. Let's do this first. Got a pin shoved under me now. Anyway, Zukin, you were worrying about, things you feel obliged to do. Well, you're doing something really important right now. You're keeping me company. And I strongly appreciate that, because I know that there are potentially other people here, but it is hard to stream to when you think there might not be anyone there. And so, even if there are lurky people, it's hard for me, because I am a chatty person. I will talk shit for hours, but I find it hard to talk to nothing. I mean, I talk to the dogs, but part of the reason I talk to the dogs is because otherwise I wouldn't speak day in, day out. Although I had a crappy meeting today, so I guess I spoke then too. But that doesn't feel right. It's 'cause it's not. Okay, so we undo that. We come back. We somehow screwed that up. Take you out. Put you over there for a minute. Undo that. Hit this. So here's your that's right. Yes, this was supposed to go in here. There we go. And then we do that. Now we do this. And that's 2 pins. Yes, I was sad to hear some gaming news today, which was that PoE 2 has been delayed. But on the good news, basically my first day of holiday is the whole new is the PoE 2 potential day. So if nothing else, I will have another distraction for my time off, which frankly could be good for me. I quite like Path of Exile. I'm not good at it, but it is something I can dip in and out of and solo at, so I don't have to play with other people, because I'm not exactly a grouping kind of girl. So for me, it is very much pleasant to have games where you solo, and so I do. So yes, Path of Exile 2 will be a pleasant experience. Well, because it's new, if nothing else. So I shall be doing some of that in December. But it was due to come out on, I think it was the 15th of November, which is somebody I know's birthday, actually. And funnily enough, here's the weird bit. I know it's her birthday on the 15th of November. But we've never been close enough friends that I ever sent her a birthday present or a card. So I'm not quite sure why I know. And I've known this for 40-something years, which is even weirder. Yes, welcome back from ads, everybody. One advantage of using bigger thread would be that using bigger pins becomes appropriate, and the bigger pins are easier to pick up, they don't bend, and frankly are a joy to behold, so that would also be good. So it would be a good thing. Getting backache because I'm twisting slightly. during December, I really need to find me a better way of sitting at this. But I don't really want the stand and the tripod for magic light. Bring my hand down a bit. Magic lighty thing. I've just realised. Zooming out. Magic lighty thing. In the middle of my floor. Because that's where my computer table, which is over there, goes. Because, well, that's got all my core stuff on it. Including my 32-inch monitor so that I can see what's going on. And it's very good for... I don't actually watch TV anymore. I've got a TV. It's kind of in that direction. It's behind a pile of books at the moment because I don't turn it on. I probably could do something with that corner of the room and make it a little bit more, well, un-TV-ish because I don't do it. But occasionally I do. I might, maybe I will over December. But obviously I can't have it on while I stream because then you end up with copyright issues. But one of the good things I can do is, like I'm doing now, what you can't hear is what I'm listening to. So I have things that read me your chat, so that I can look at this and not look at that. I mean, I do look at that because, well, I've got other things on it. But as a whole, I don't look at the screen. And that's part of the reason I don't notice that I'm zoomed in and stuff is because, well, I'm looking at what I'm doing. And it means that I'm in a position where I have things in my ear that you can't hear. So I can play things on a channel that you don't get to hear. So you don't get to hear it reading out your text. Well, currently it reads chats to you, so literally it just read out Zukum scripts, says, does it make sounds or read chat to you? And that means that I can listen to that. You do not have to hear yourselves being read out, because of course you can see that you type that, but I can concentrate on what I'm doing, and it is quite good, because obviously if you're doing something like this and you're paying attention to it, it can be in the bottom, you know. Or, for example, like you do, Zukum, when you're doing your work, if you have it read to you and you have it read into your ears, you can have full screen things that work for you. So you can have a picture, a browser, you can have your whole screen or multiple screens full of shit. You do not have to look at chat. And it also means you hear it in a more real time. So you don't suddenly look up and realise you've missed 20 minutes of conversation, right? And I can tell you how I did that as well if you want. But it's something I helped set up for somebody else who is working on a car. And obviously they've got their head up the exhaust pipe and are sanding and painting and scratching and buffing. And they're not going to be looking at a screen. They're going to be looking at what they're doing. And it was something I considered for this simply because I'm looking at a physical object. I'm not looking at a screen. I can't have a corner of the screen with chat on it. Well, I can, but I'm not looking at it because I'm looking at my pillow. And I can't really put my pillow... well, I probably could put my screen under the pillow, but that's about all I could do to make it useful. So to have it read it out was a really, really good thing. And it is good, but it also means, for example, what you can't hear is that I can play copyright music to myself. I could have an audio book on. I could be watching a film, and you will never know. So, for example, I'm actually, well, I'm not watching it because currently I'm talking to you, but generally I've been looking at this. If I tell you the Dark, the Sword, the Forsaken, the Temple, now that's very appropriate to what I'm watching. And for those who are sad acts like me, they'll know exactly what I'm watching. And what bit. But it does mean that should you all be busy and that I haven't really got someone to listen to, my brain is not imploding because I don't really do silence. My brain can't handle silence. Nope. It's not the Twilight movies. Screw the Twilight movies. There are no such thing as sparkly vampires. I have seen the Twilight movies a couple of times. But there are no such thing as sparkly vampires. Oh, what a big pile of crock that was. if they didn't have sparkly vampires, that series really would be quite reasonable. But it was the... No, that spoils it. It's a bit like... I love a good horror movie, right? Really, really do. But, is it Friday the 13th? The one where Johnny Depp's lying on bed and about 20,000 gallons of blood... He gets sucked into the bed and 20,000 gallons of blood squirts on the screen. Human body's only got 9 pints, dude. Sorry. And instantly your brain just goes, no. And so, but I'm watching Doctor Who, by the way. So it means that I can listen to something. Now, sometimes that could be distractive. So it does have to be something I already know, the plot, the story, and everything else. So really, really, really sensible option is Harry Potter. Because, frankly, I almost chain Harry Potter. I have Alexa devices, and what I do is every night when I go to bed, I have a command that turns all the lights off and reads me 20 minutes of my audiobook. And it's a bit like having a bedtime story when you were little. I know, because I wasn't talking to you, bitch face. And I think that can be a problem, is that there were some of the late 80s, 90s, and I have to check which one the ninth one was, because if sometimes it's easier to tell me who the actor was, because counting them is a little bit complicated. But sometimes it is very difficult, I think, with... I mean, for example, if I started with Jodie Foster, I would have walked away. I would have not watched beyond that first episode. Hang on. You are so grateful I muted that. Otherwise, you'd all be you're having bleeding ears and catching speaker cones. So, if Jodie Foster, for example, Jodie Whittaker, whatever her name was, Jodie Whittaker, if that had been my first Doctor, I didn't do the thing. I would have quit. I'd never have watched Doctor Who. I couldn't have done it. And I think that's true with a lot of these things, is that there are a lot of... that one I'm going to have to disagree with you on, because for me, he was a really good Doctor. But I think in part because he embodied many of the characteristics of some of the more recent ones way back when in the 80s when they stopped it, kind of thing, right? So... in the 70s and 80s, we had Tom Baker, Sylvester McCoy, the bloke from All Creatures Great and Small, and Colin Baker. Was it Colin Baker was a recent one? Anyway, they were all a little bit, frankly, a little bit weird. And in being a little bit weird, Christopher Eccleston had a lot of the traits that made that real. And so when he came back and, with his big grinny face, and one of the first words he says is, run. And it kind of embodied some of the silliness that was Doctor Who. Because Doctor Who, during those years, had a reasonable level of silliness. Now, you've got to remember no. And that's my point, is that, well, to be honest, I am not good when they change doctors. We talked a bit about this yesterday, actually. I'm not very good when they change doctors. So while I took to Chris Eccleston pretty well, because I just did, it felt, while it had been a considerable time since we'd had some Doctor Who, it felt like a reasonable continuation. When we brought David Tennant in, there was this whole big thing about, he's the youngest Doctor they've ever had, and his previous work, he was some, lover in some period drama, and it's kind of like, and how the hell does that qualify him as Doctor Who? Because, let's face it, you wouldn't trust a man to do brain surgery on you as a mechanic for a Ford, on Ford engines, right? Just because you're a clever man does not mean you're the right man for the job. And so I had reservations, and it took me a few episodes to get into what was going on and accept David Tennant as okay. Now, I rewatched them, and because I already know that some of the later David Tennant episodes are really quite good, I have less of a problem. But there is still that initial kind of... It's not quite the smooth transition. Now, obviously, we've got to accept that if you change body, mind and soul, which kind of Doctor Who does when he regenerates, it's got to be quite jarring to wake up in a completely different body. I mean, for example, obviously with Jodie Whittaker, he wakes up as a woman. So that's got to be a bit of a surprise. And they had laid ground and foundation for the Doctor being a woman by having Missy, and she was frigging brilliant. And obviously, until then, he had always been the Master. So the Master changing, but also at some point, Missy says, when I was a little girl. But we know that he was a bloke when he was a kid. So there's confusion there. But of course, they're alien. Our definition of male and female could be very different. And I think, yesterday Naughty Cult made a really good point. All of the earlier Doctor Who's were not 100% for children, but were 100% suitable for children. They were a bit scary, but they were not, mass murdering, blood and gore. But they were a bit scary, but they were suitable for children. When Chris Eccleston, we got to the end of Chris Eccleston, it was really obvious that Rose had fallen in love for the Doctor. Now, I don't disagree that that's a potential thing, because Rose was not particularly old in, she was not, she'd barely left school, so she was kind of 17, 18 in terms of character age. So her falling in love with some random bloke who frankly has, gives the hero complex thing a bit of a go is not unrealistic, but at the same time with a 1900-year-old plus man, he's probably not going to be that interested because, he's been floating around for many, 1,000 odd years and not really had a companion of that style of companion in all of that time. So we need to face the fact that it's probably not on his mind quite as much as, say, a 17-year-old girl. And so having a romantic side to Doctor Who was a whole new kind of avenue for the Doctor Who series. And, it kind of doesn't fit. And the fact that it continued on with some of them, so obviously Martha Jones falls for David Tennant's Doctor Who when he takes her on as companion, and she seems to fall quite hard and fast for him. Almost, I think it's episode 3, she's mentioning of, he doesn't notice me, and yeah, I know what it's like not to be noticed by someone you love, kind of thing. It seemed a bit fast. And to be honest, Clara and Peter Capaldi, by the time we get there, Clara, I wouldn't say was in love with Doctor Who, because I don't think that was a thing. But at the same time, it kind of was a very weird relationship. It was almost like... Well, it wasn't father and daughter. It was almost more like mother and son, in that she was quite bossy, and he tried to rebel almost against her, not the other way around. So we could do with losing some of that. And the current one, Ncuti Gatwa, I haven't warmed to that yet. That is a level of nutty that I haven't accepted yet. Now, much as I have named my dogs Rory and Amy after Rory and Amy, the Doctor's companions, without too many spoilers, there is potential doubt of the father of Amy's child. And while she keeps making out that very clearly it must be Rory, it must be Rory, it must be Rory, it does not seem as clear to her or the Doctor that that is 100% the case. Well, how can that be? Then, because for them to have any doubts, well then, surely shenanigans happened, right? So, because again, he's alien, who knows what counts as shenanigans when you're a Time Lord, right? So it was just a side to Doctor Who that I didn't feel was overly essential to the making of Doctor Who. And one we could live without. And to be honest, it feels a little like we've still got that in Doctor Who now, in that there does not need to be a love interest in Doctor Who. Jodie Whittaker didn't have that, and that was one of the good things about Jodie Whittaker. Maybe one of the few good things about Jodie Whittaker's. But there was not really a love interest in... Well, there kind of was towards the end, because, as it turns out, the girl kind of fancied her a bit. But it was not it was not almost a key plot factor. I mean, she was there, and she had a bit of a hero complex thing, but it was not the be all and end all. So I don't know, I think we could lose that without, detriment. Because, it feels, it's like when you watch a film and you know what's coming, right? That's right, my Doctor Who's finished and not clicked on to the next program, which is slightly irritating. We've done that one. Where are we at? Oh, this one. Okay. It's the other part of this one. Right. So yeah. Truly and honestly, start from the beginning with Patrick, with the true one and only. Hang on, let me pause that a second. I don't know whether you get them, but on iPlayer there is Doctor Who, and no, that's the even newer Doctor Who. There is, or was, the original. There we go. Doctor Who the Originals. So season 1, 1963, in colour. They've colorised it, with William Hartnell. Yeah, and that's a bit weirder in the sense that when you start with those ones, the girl who's travelling with him is not human. She is more of a daughter in those times, because she doesn't seem to be... She's not someone that he picks up from the UK kind of thing, because most of them come from the UK. It's not someone he's picked up along the way. It seems to be someone he brought along. So it is more like his daughter. And I had an argument with the ex-husband at one point, because I'm really sure in one of the more recent Doctor Who episodes, he mentions that he was a woman, which was him kind of preluding to the fact that we were going to get Jodie Whittaker. But it turned out that I was wrong, and I went through the transcript, to be honest. But he certainly mentioned that he had a family, and I get the impression that that's what they're talking about. But certainly those early Doctor Who ones, and starting there and following it through, because it does cover some of the history of it, and it will make some of the quirkiness of Doctor Who make a little bit more sense. But obviously it was set in 1963, well, it was made in 1963, so while it was set in the future, but from 1963, obviously in 1963 robots and flying cars and things were, everyone would have one. So it is a little kind of weird to us with today eyes, but I would definitely say start from the beginning, especially as iPlayer does currently seem to have, as I say, I don't know whether it's available all over the world, but certainly here in the UK, it is, we've got from 63 to whenever, 1996, so the last episode's in 96, that is 26 seasons. Now, you got to remember, Doctor Who seasons were a lot shorter than some of the American stuff, but there's also the movie, because there was a 1996 movie, and I had seen some of the earlier Doctor Who's, so I came along with Tom Baker, but which were quite a few before. That's a really bad picture of Sylvester McCoy. That's a shocking picture of Sylvester McCoy. That's nothing like him. It's right, the picture that they've got on it is really, for example, let me share a picture. Hang on. You're going to pick it up? No, because you're annoying. Properties, Edge, Doctor Who. So, for example, let me show you this briefly. Here you go, transition. So, as you can see from this, I have this is my iPad. So there are so this is season 1, but there are 26 seasons, and there's the 5 Doctors, and there's a movie, there's some extras, and you can watch them all. I haven't watched all of them. I have watched more than this shows, but that's because this is a different computer. But for example, let's have a look. This is some of the last ones. So, it's not like there are a huge amount. So there's 12, 14 in the last season, well, series we called them, but there's the movie, a few extras. There is a lot to watch, and one thing you can do is look at the pictures, find out when it changes from one to another. Some of them are animated because they lost the footage, by the way, so don't be too surprised at some of that. But mooch through, and they've obviously changed by this point, so, and they're naturally in colour, so obviously at the end of this bit, we lose one, we've gone from 1 to 2, so we've done that beforehand. He's in that one. So at some point round about here, we're changing over by the looks of it, because obviously we've changed actors by this point. So there's quite a lot to watch through, and if you don't like one and you just think this is really kind of dull, search through, find the next one, because as I said, almost every time they've changed the Doctor, the whole kind of story picture changes, because he is a different person. And David Tennant did it quite well with new teeth. Oh, that's funny. Oh, I'm sure I feel I've got a different kidney. It's that kind of it's quite a rip for the Doctor, and so no, I knew that. It's right, my co-worker's sending me something he's discussed about the shenanigans, and it's like, well, try and watch 2 or 3 episodes, because the first one, as you're coming with it with fresh eyes, it's not like you clung on to the last one, he was your favourite kind of thing, and then suddenly it's some new tosser who's, you're instantly against because he's not the bloke you like. But give it a couple of episodes, try each one. I came in at Tom Baker, who is the guy with the blue background here. I was less keen on the bloke from All Creatures Great and Small, who is the green one. Colin Baker, who was the yellow one. He didn't last very long. Sylvester McCoy, the red one. That does not look like Sylvester McCoy in the slightest. And we can prove that by screeching to the end somewhere. It's Colin Baker. There he is. That's what he looks like. So if we... That's what Sylvester McCoy looks like. He does not look like that picture, right? And then this is Paul McGann. He was the movie. So he doesn't really... But he does show up in some of the later episodes as a kind of tying it all together, because the movie was a little bit after the fact. So try them. You may find that, for example, as I say, Tom Baker was mine. He has a bit of a fascination for the scarf and the jelly babies. And I made a Doctor Who scarf, by the way, for my ex-husband, and I made it true to form, which is something like 18 and a bit feet. They're multicoloured, so I did all of that. I've made a TARDIS door. But, you know, each of them has had a bit of quirky clothing, a bit of weirdness, a bit of... There was always something fundamentally a little bit odd about them. But if you truly... I mean, bear in mind, the current Doctor, Sir Peter Capaldi, is supposed to be 2,000 years old. Plus, right? Jodie Whittaker, therefore, has to be older. And we don't always know by how much older. So, for example, Matt Smith was early 1900s, so he was like, 1906. But by the time we get to Peter Capaldi, who's next, well, he's 2000. Exactly, that was a really, really good one. Day of the Doctor, I like that one. But I think, in a way, that won't make a lot of sense to poor old Zukin if he's not seen or really followed any Doctor Who at that point. But it is a really good one. There's the one with the shapeshifters where Tom Baker gets a really small part, but he's in it as the curator at the end, where you've got Matt Smith, David Tennant, John Hurt. That works quite well as part of it. It's... because that was a prelude to Day of the Doctor. So it is... There is a lot of it that I think you can't really just jump in and watch that one, even though it's a great episode, because you don't know, you're not going to recognise David Tennant as the Doctor necessarily. I mean, okay, obviously they give it away because they go, well, I'm the Doctor, but you're not going to have that recognition and that, oh, great, it's him, that it's... If you've not seen it. And so for Zukin coming in raw from the beginning, first of all, where have you been, Zukin? But I definitely think start from the beginning. William Hartnell. Try each one, watch a couple of episodes. You must be slightly older than me then, Nautica. You really must be slightly older, because I don't remember anyone before Tom Baker. And I have no problem with watching Star Trek to TNG for the 100th time, because, to be honest, I've certainly got into double figures. I'm not going to criticise you for watching too much Star Trek, because Star Trek's a thing. So it is. I do like Doctor Who, and it's only because of iPlayer that we really get to re-watch them. The BBC never really did reruns. And it was... I know that, for example, there's a couple of other things where, for example, Dave Allen never did reruns, and part of that was because he never wanted them to be rerun. And obviously once he demised, they did do some of the, best of Dave Allen kind of things, and it was the best shit on TV for years. But they don't there are channels now that do show old Doctor Who's, but the BBC themselves, who make it, will not show reruns of Doctor Who, which is kind of sad, because they produce all else of value. And, here I am paying my 160 quid or whatever it is for my TV licence, on the off chance they're going to chuck out a handful of Doctor Who, because, of course, they killed off Torchwood. That's the only thing I watch on the BBC. It's why I don't watch my TV that often. I end up watching iPlayer and Netflix and Amazon and Disney Plus because I can go, I fancy watching that today, and then I binge on it. And I have done quite a bit of the Doctor Who's. I haven't done the early ones now for a while. Up to about series 5 or 6, and then kind of I do have a habit of rewatching the newer ones, just because they're newer and a bit more in our time zone. So I have no problem with dated, and it actually really annoys me when people get all uppity about something that was set or made 30, 40 years ago or longer, and then kind of go, oh, how dare it say that? Well, that was normal back then, so can you not? I mean, if you think of period dramas when, Lady So-and-so would have sat around and called for the maid. We don't have maids now. No one has frigging maids now. But we don't get all pissy because there were maids. We get a little bit uppity because, there's inference that, one of the, masters was sleeping with a maid, and how very dare you take advantage of, But there are so many things that we get uppity about today that are, I'm not saying wrong to be uppity about, because we have moved on, we have learned, we know better. But for the time that it was set, the time that it was made, that was okay. And we need to accept that it was deemed okay then. But of course they don't like showing it because, you can't show that now. One of the things, Naughty Cat, I don't know if you know, Blazing Saddles, one of the funniest films ever made, right? The Americans have never seen the baked bean scene. How can you not have seen the baked bean scene, right? It is not shown in America. Now, of course, they don't show Blazing Saddles anymore because, oh my god, it's far too judgmental. But it wasn't judgmental, it was taking the piss out of being judgmental. That was the whole frigging point. The whole bit towards the end when they get, they want all the bad people, and it's kind of like, oh, I'm a rapist, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm the otherist, and, and a Methodist, Exactly! The funniest part of the wretched film! Well, exactly, right? Blazing Saddles is a film to behold, and it is a gloriously funny thing, taking the mick out of everything, including the N-word. And, things that we daren't do or say today, but they were taking the mick out of it. It was not to the detriment of anybody. Absolutely nobody. It was taking the mick out of everything. And frankly, funny as hell. And so it is, yeah. But as you say, you've got to sit there and you've got to accept that what was okay. I mean, if you think back, in wars of days gone by, the things that people did as warring, and hence we have war crimes, are not deemed acceptable. Now, I'm not saying they were acceptable necessarily when some of them were done, but if you go back far enough, it was almost required. And you can't, obviously Genghis Khan was not exactly the friendliest, greatest bloke in the world, but you can't judge today things that happened in history because we now know better. And we do, for the most part. I mean, I have a co-worker, and he is as black as night, and I love him to bits, right? But in days gone by, neither he or I would have been working in our office. I would have been, at best, a secretary, or a stay-at-home mum. Choice would have, that would have been kind of it. And he most certainly would not have worked in mainstream office. But here we are, we both work in the same office as equals. But there were certainly times when that was not a thing. And there's been quite a few of the meme things, the thing with Kevin Costner and the NASA thing. and the poor girl who has to walk for 45 minutes to go for a pee. Because that's what it was like then. And we know that that is horrendously wrong. There should not be separate bathrooms because, they're still human, It's, we've moved on from that. Well, 99% of us have moved on from that. But it was a real thing back then. And we need to learn from it. And so by pretending it didn't happen and never showing it again, because, oh my God, how dare you? Well, we're bound to set up, the world to make the same mistakes again because, well, we're, they're not going to learn from it because they don't see it. So I mean, Blazing Saddles, you're not going to learn from Blazing Saddles except what's really, really funny. Or at least what is very much the humour of my day. But some of the things that I do feel slightly sorry for, and I'm not saying that everyone's as innocent as a white cloud, but you get a lot of these celebrities done for touching people, let's leave it at that. But when I started work, getting a slap on the butt was normal. And in fact, if you didn't get one, you were kind of wondering why not, because, well, everyone got one. Or at least all the women did. So, if you weren't getting one, almost what was wrong with you? Because, well, everyone else got one. Now, today, it'd be screaming, people would run screaming to HR, oh my God, he slapped my butt, and oh my God, how dare he? But back, even 90s, that was normal. It's not that long ago, folks. And we need to stop acting like it was the 1200s when that happened. 1990, you smoked in the office and women got tapped on the butt. It was a thing. It wasn't always desired, but, hey. I did get a couple of very unwanted propositions, and I told them where they could go shove it. And there were no trips to HR for that either, because, despite telling them in very short terms how wrong I felt they were, you didn't run to HR for everything. Whereas nowadays, I so much as say poop in the office and someone's run to HR. We live in a very different world to what we did then. Everyone's offended by frigging everything nowadays. So we need to bear in mind that back then, a lot more things were acceptable, and the done and the state of the time. And you even see it now, even for films that, you watch and you kind of go, what was all that about? You get a little prelude before the showing in the UK and it goes, this film contains dated ideas and material. And you watch the film and you laugh at it or whatever, or you watch it and you kind of go, okay. Because it was maybe a bit more subtle than it could have been. But it also means that at some point someone must have complained about that. Almost certainly someone had complained about that. And there is a bit of you going, what did they complain about? Wasn't that bad? So yeah, I don't know. I am fearful for the state of the world as we proceed along it. Because I don't feel we are necessarily doing the best that we could. See if I can find that errant thread of potential disaster. Rory, I know you're rabbiting, but can you stop kicking me in the butt? Thank you. I think it's one of these. One of these has got a little bit worrisome. Something like that. See, if you look here. Let me zoom in again. Rory's just kicked me really hard. Why? No, I'm not showing you my pillow. Nobody said. Boo, hiss. Hang on. Pillow. So if I zoom in and move over, you can probably see that this thread here, let me see if I can make a bit of a path for it with some bins. There you go. Pin some of its fellows out the way slightly. So you can come out the way. Like that. something like that. This thread here in the middle is looking very dog-eared and frizzy and untangled and unhappy. And not quite sure why it got so miserable. It might survive. We shall see when we get there. We shall see when we get there. But mostly unhappy. I think it must have got caught on a pin and then stayed mangled by a pin. So we don't need you for the minute. Or do we? We need you two. And we need... Seems to be some bobbins short. Hang on. So, scrunch you round as much as I can without causing too much grief. I need you two, and then I need you two. I think yes I do. Those are the ones I want. So, let's put you back for the moment. Let's put you around the pin as much as I can. There we go. Like that. Rory, will you stop kicking me, please, my son? Wakey, wakey. Clickety click. Oops. I know what I wanted to click on. Right. And we twist that. We do the thing. One of the things I do like about Peter Capaldi's Doctor Who is he is actually playing the guitar. Although there is one bit where you see him playing a tune at the beginning and it's not the tune he's playing. But he can and does play the guitar in many of the episodes, and it is clearly him playing. So obviously they took a recording, liked what he played, but when he did it another time, maybe didn't like what he played as much, but liked the actual acting and all the rest of it better. So stuck with it. But for those who are musically minded, you can tell he's not playing what we're listening to at the time. Sorry I bashed the mic. Part of the reason I set up something to listen to was that obviously when you guys are quiet, my brain cells are struggling and fighting the quietness. So it needs something in my ear so there is not quietness from my point of view. Otherwise my brain explodes. And now obviously when you're playing games, you're listening to the thing, you're shooting thing, you're casting spell, you're bashing them with the sword or whatever you're doing. But when you're doing something like this, all I've got is the clankety clank of the bobbins. Now, that's not necessarily a bad sound, and don't get me wrong, I don't dislike it. But it's not exactly taxing the brain cells. So they do like something to listen to. So I let them have something. Time for a stick. Ads in a minute or so. Slight back strain. Need to alleviate some of the back strain. Right, we have finished the joyous. Now, you, I'm pretty sure from some of that, you are also part of this. So, time to stick you all up a bit. marker thing. There we go. Stickety stick. So let's pile you up a bit like that. We are, and if it wasn't 10 o'clock at night, I would be really tempted to keep going to try and do this kind of bit of ground to the bottom of this kind of bit of ground, and sealing off a pile load more bobbins, because then there's less bobbins, because we definitely are getting closer to the end. We are kind of halfway through the triangle now. I'm going to quickly stare and check that I didn't screw that up too badly. They look like they're all right. So I was just quickly staring at the rose grounds, check that I hadn't missed any corners, and I wouldn't hate myself in the morning, you know. But that's not looking too bad. Now, it is 10 o'clock, and it takes forever for these videos to roll up, by the way. Due to my... I'm actually getting really annoyed. I'm getting really annoyed with my service provider, because I keep getting adverts for my service provider going, hey, we do fibre in your area. No, you don't. I have got the best I can get, and it is from you, and the best I can get is 29 guaranteed, 29 down, and about 6 up. So don't be telling me I can have gigabit broadband, because I freaking can't. And I'm getting a bit fed up of the multitude of adverts for it, because of course they're all targeted ads. But more to the point, I'm already with them, and they very recently reviewed my thing, and it says you're on the best that we've offered. All we can do is offer to charge you more for it, and it's like, no thanks, I'll keep what I've got. So it is slightly irritating, because obviously with a 6 mega upload it takes forever. I mean, I don't know how big this file is. I don't think it'll tell me until I finish streaming, to be honest. Let me have a quick look. Yeah. It is a bit, isn't it? It's so I pay, I think it's £35 a month for what I've got, which is fine. But they'll write and say, you know, your choices are, you can either have a slightly reduced package, so even though it's the same, the actual thing you pay for is 80/20, so 80 down and 20 up, but they will only guarantee me a speed of 29 down and 6 up for some reason. And they can offer me kind of like, up to 60 down or something, and 10 up or something, but then obviously I get percentagely less than that, although you'd think I'd get the same speed. I don't, or I wouldn't, and so as a result it is, this is the best that they can offer, and they can go, so you're on this and it's £35 a month, and you could change to exactly this plan but pay us £42 a month. I'm not paying you £7 more for exactly the same shit. Sorry. So, yeah, it is. But it is that kind of issue in life where you do sit there going, I'm sorry, but I don't mind. I mean, to be honest, if I could pay £50 and get gigabit internet, I'd be frigging paying that. I would buy it in a heartbeat. But I can't, so I don't. If I could have faster internet, I would be signing up for that. I work from home. I spend my entire life on the internet. Speed matters, right? But as I can't, it is really irritating to get the constant, Has your service provider not, let you down and you're not getting the speeds that you want? Well, we can do fibre in your area and you can have gig. No, I freaking can't. Stop telling me I can, because I know I can't. And because we've been through this. And so it's getting a little bit annoying because it feels like every other ad seems to be made of this. And you know how it is whenever it is. It's a bit like when you've just broken up with someone, everyone and their dog seems to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and it seems to be literally everybody but you. And because I can't have faster internet, and I dearly love faster internet, every advert seems to be, but you could have faster internet with us. No, I can't. Because the moment I actually go there and I put in my postcode and say, go on then, it goes, no, I can't. So stop advertising that I can, because I can't. So, right, where are we? You are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But one comes out at this corner, so that's fine. You now come out and stop wrapping around the pins. You come out and go around that. So what we're going to do is we will do this little bit of cloth stitch. And then call it quits for today. And sadly, it'll be Wednesday before we do the ground stitch and get rid of all those bobbins. But we will, without doubt, almost certainly do so. Stop hooking on the wretched pins. Actually, what we will do is we will check that we popped down all those pins. We did. And we will undo the myriad of pins from back here because, well, we get to see better. So we will pop these pins. And this is when we discover that I probably screwed some of this up and I'll hate myself, because that's just how it works. So, that looks pretty reasonable. Not spotting any major faux pas in that. In fact, let's zoom it in and have a look. And if I make that bigger so I can see it too, because funnily enough, this gives me a better view than not. So let's, oops, wrong way. There we go. No, that looks pretty reasonable. There is something slightly wonky. I think it's because I pulled out a pin too many. Yeah, I pulled out one pin too many. Technically. Pin there. That's better. There we go. Wasn't essential to put the pin back, but it does make you feel better when you look at it like that and you can see the pin and everything's all equal. That doesn't look too bad at all. Why is it? It's only when you pull the pins out do you see the problems. Anyway, we're happy for that. That's a good thing. Kill that. So yes, let's move the pins so that I don't catapult them around my living room, because if they went in my poop pile, that would be really quite unfortunate, because I'd never see them again in a hurry. If I didn't have work tomorrow, I'd also work potentially later, because that's a thing. I don't suppose you can hear the dog grumbling in the background. Little tiny doggy snores. Yeah, I moved the mic a lot, so and turned the sound up on it a bit. Snoring puppy dog. There is something quite nice about snoring puppy dogs. I actually do reckon that if you sleep with your dogs, not obviously sexually, but if you do sleep with your dogs, that having your dog helps you drip into better quality sleep quicker. And I won't disagree. I mean, I do generally get to sleep quite well. I do have random bouts of not sleeping in the slightest, but as a whole, I do sleep reasonably well as a general rule. And I would attribute it to having, well, frankly, I actually think it's more of having something in the room that deeply cares for you, and that kind of vibe is the fact that I have two of them there. Now, I will say that when they lie on my face and try and smother me, it's not quite so pleasant, but for the most part, having your little fluff ones there is quite reassuring, and obviously they're quite warm to the touch, so you know, if your bed's a bit cold, you snuggle down a bit and there's a dog, and you have a bit of a hot water bottle effect, so it is quite pleasant as a generic rule to have one's fluff in the room and snoring potentially at you. But maybe not when they wake up and lick the cushion. Yes, I can hear you. One secret thing that dogs don't want their humans to know is that black dogs, i.e. predominantly black, there can be a small amount of other colour on there, but predominantly black dogs are invisible. You can't see them, you can't notice them, and they're underloved, and that when they decide that they want up through that 1-inch gap on the couch, that you are completely unaware of this, and even if they scratch the living crap out of you trying to climb up on the couch, you are unaware of this attempt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is very much a dog thing, and you know, as a whole, you can't see them, detect them, and so they are deprived and unloved and unfed and uncared for, and it's all a pack of lies. Very much a pack of lies. But that's what they want you to believe, so just so you know. Yes, little sneaping puppies. I have 2 of them at the moment. It's one of the things that I find really funny in the morning is my alarm clock goes off, I get up, and by the time I'm ready to go downstairs, I have to literally evict them because they are fast asleep and curled up in the warm spots. one of you smells and it's not me. And there is a really good spot to end for the day, I think. These are a bit much for one stick, but it will fit if you make it. See? Stick them over there a second. Big stick down there. So, tomorrow we will do this bit of ground stitch and seal off what is at least 10 pairs of bobbins and make the playing field a lot more empty, because basically all of those will disappear, so it will be distinctly far more available. Like with the others, I have left the long tails just in case, on the off chance, but the reality is that we're really doing quite well, and obviously as we work and progress in this direction, we know that the ground stitch flows quite quickly, although there's a lot of pins to slow it down. But of course we're getting less and less pairs of bobbins on the cushion to be fighting about with, but also to physically work, because obviously as each iteration of working this way, there is one less pair of bobbins. So we are in a position, I think, to be doing quite well tomorrow. Tomorrow, I would like to think, depending on how well the day goes, let me quickly look at my meeting regime for tomorrow, because to be honest, quite a lot can be told from meeting regimes as to the joy of the day. So let me, no, that's not the thing I wanted. Tomorrow I have two meetings I will not be attending because, well, to that, and they're not essential to me, and a no meeting zone from 2 o'clock till 6 o'clock. So realistically, no meetings. Should be in a better mood tomorrow. Bitching with co-worker being about the primary factor of the day. So by the way, we do have a Teams channel called Moans About, because usually there's a moan in it of, why is this not working? Why, do you know when this is happening? Why didn't we know? You know, it's... And I'm saying goodbye. Good night too. So thank you, Sugar Bear, for coming. Thank you for Zukin and everybody else. Naughty Kelt, if you're still floating around gently in the background, good night to you too. Everybody else, you didn't say hello, so you can't have a personal mention. And so, but I still love you too. I shall see you tomorrow, and I will upload this to YouTube now-ish, and then go to bed, because that's kind of how it goes, because it takes like 2 hours. So, thank you, and I shall see you all again tomorrow. Bye.